So you wanna be a picture book writer, then you gotta write picture books. And you're gonna need a bucket load of bright ideas for titles, plots, and hooks. If you're partial to prose or you're raring to rhyme, then repeat after me. It's a challenge, but I'm gonna tackle each story 1 month at a time with 12 by 12.
But as a creative, for example, think of the societal constructs or mythos or mottos that we have of being creative. Like we have the starving artist, right? I've never heard of like a starving botanist or a not doing so well lawyer or anything like that. But the funny thing is, as a creative, there is pretty much no cap to your income. And it is why I, or a big reason why, along with the freedom, have never worked a real job in my life. In my life, because I knew if I were to leverage myself fully to meet the impact that I know my creative heart wants to reach, that big dream for me, that means I don't want to have a cap. I don't want to be checking in and here's what I'm going to do today, boss. And this is not to knock those jobs. That's wonderful. If that is what is helping you create the safety and the ecosystem for that dream, do it. But I also know that we have deep seated beliefs about what it means to be a creative and what we are allowed to experience money wise. And I know that even with so many models of incredibly wealthy creatives out there, it's still something that's like pokey in us, right? Like it still tweaks us and we're like, oh, I don't know. Or we say maybe for them, but not me because 10,000 reasons, right? And we're looking at all the things that we can't change, or maybe we think the things that we can't change are really things we can. We also have, as creatives, this deep well of empathy and emotions and ebb and flow of creative living. One of the things that I try to put into every one of my programs, specifically Creative Money Awakening, was this aspect of your creative career can be like a living ecosystem. And like right now, I'm in Ontario, Canada. Like things are trailing off right now. It is winter. Everything's gone off the trees. It's getting cold. But under the roots, under the ground and the roots there's a lot going on. But in your creative ecosystem, by necessity, you are not a widget maker. You can't treat yourself like a factory and be like, okay, I'm going to do this amount of work every day and I'm going to clock in at it. Like it doesn't work like that. You know damn well that sometimes you will do everything in your part to sit down and do your due diligence and show up. And it's going to be like, no, it's just not going to happen. Nothing functional is going to happen today other than I'm going to show up and I've earned a point, right? For myself and like how I'm doing things. And that's normal. And because of that, we almost have this kind of feast or famine cycle as creatives, especially as writers. Because even if you have, like, I get fantastic royalties, I'm making more than 6 figures with royalties, which is amazing. And I will say it took a long time to get there. But now it can be very like feast and famine, right? Where we're expected to have, now I think they're even splitting up royalties. I think it's been a while since I've checked, but like into like fourths or fifths, like stuff like that, where it's like you're just getting little bits every so often. And I'm here to say the key is not to always have skyrocketing income as a creative. The key is to recognize your ebb and flow of what feels right for you or what feels productive creatively for you without becoming like an extraction monster. What I mean by that is I don't use the term manifestation a lot because for me, it can be a load of hot garbage the way it's described sometimes, just from a scientific perspective. But that's another conversation. But I don't love how it's very much, if I do this, then I can pull this out. As creatives, you know this in your hearts, that sometimes there is just a season to everything, okay? And the reason so much of this money work matters more for creatives is because when we can harness those seasons and work with our blocks, that's when you actually have yourself set up to create not only an incredibly creative career, but one that feeds your soul and spirit and actually allows for something that I call rest. I know. And as I said, I think I said this. If not, I'll tell you now and admit it. I am a recovering hustle bug. Okay. I have made myself ill before working too much. And that is a self sabotage. If you are a hustle bug person, if you're like always go move the next goalpost, that is your sign that for you, the scary zing moment of self-sabotage, the money block, the scary moment is stopping because you are so used to chaos, to stress, to go that slowing down feels unsafe, right? So you can see how there's so many layers, and I will keep going because I know there's so much to explore here though, you guys. Okay. We also have this reality of combining creative work with business. And it is one thing to be like, I'm going to go draw this picture. I'm going to go write this for myself. And I would never, ever poo poo anybody's creativity when it's done for themselves. That is, I think, a necessity. We as creatives need to carve out those spaces where this is for me and me alone. It's hot garbage and I don't care. Do it for yourself. But the minute we enter into the world of these realities, it's almost like in my mind, I still picture, I don't know, I'm probably dating myself here, but the designing women ladies with the shoulder pads and like the freaking hair and like the briefcase. Like I picture my husband, who's 6'7" white guy who works in pharmaceuticals, right? I literally call him Mr. Business because I'm like, what do you even do? What is this job you do? But that's what I picture. So for a long time, it took me quite a while to shape business the way I wanted it to look. Business does not need to be briefcase professional. Like I'm in a Hawaiian shirt, for God's sakes. You can make your creative business look like anything. But as creatives, it is just one more hurdle or set of hurdles to get through that makes money making so much harder than if you were showing up at a factory and you don't have to think about your existential role as a creative with that work necessarily. And finally, when it comes to this stuff, and you're going to see going forward when I lay out some of these specific blocks, business is never just business, because every idea or every doorway you take or every path that you choose to take in business as a creative is going to have a direct tie to your creative spirit or intuition. Or if it doesn't, it's going to feel so bad. So either way, you are going to feel the consequences, right? You need to be in tune with your creative spirit and your intuition for this work and your heart for this work. But that means that every decision that you make from a business perspective is just going to naturally feel heavier. The stakes will just feel higher. And I know that can feel like a hindrance. I know, I cannot tell you how many times that I've said to one of my biz besties, I wish I could just be a professional soccer player. Because then the goal, stay in shape, put the ball in the net. That's it. Like you love what you're doing, but there's no aspect of this turmoil that is just naturally a part of what we're doing. So with that said, how do you do this work? First of all, I'm going to walk you through this. You have to identify each and every trigger, but this is not in one go. This is as they unfold. All of the self-sabotages that come up, all of the times you feel that invisible wall where you're looking at the dream and you're like, oh, that dream's there. The next step is this. Why am I self-sabotaging myself? What's going on in my brain? What's going on in my body? But it's only as they unfold. You will not be able to map this out, because the beautiful thing is about a creative journey is that you might take one door and it'll lead you completely like in a completely different spot. So don't do it that way. Just your next step. That's the next thing you need to look at. Then you want to use science-backed strategies. I cannot stress this enough. If you're familiar with my work, I get my back up a little bit about some of the more popular modes of spiritual enlightenment and tips and tricks and tools that are passed around out there to do this kind of work, because I hate to say it, it's not going to work for a lot of people. For example, affirmations. If you are somebody whose body and brain is on board with affirmations, go to it and you'll know if it works. But for most people, a really empowering affirmation is actually going to make you feel like crap, because your brain is going to start to find the ways that it's wrong. If I look in the mirror and say, you are a zillionaire, my brain is going to be like, actually, no. And that's where if you don't incorporate science into dealing with these meat suit issues or find somebody who can help you do this work, it is just going to feel like, frankly, you're going to blame yourself, because you're going to say, I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything they're telling me to do. I'm doing everything right. Why am I still stuck? And that's because you're up here. You're up here in your ideas. You're up here trying to engage with your thinking prefrontal cortex, the part of you that's like the executive. You can't do that when you're in that state of being triggered or feeling that wall. And then finally, I say you continue identifying and shifting and creating as your thresholds grow and change with your dreams. because they absolutely will.
Together, so never you fear. It's a handy little way to help you kick into gear. You're amazing, exciting. Look out, 'cause you're writing 12 by 12. 12 manuscripts. 12 by 12. 12 picture books.